There's a very specific kind of person who just doesn't do social media. Not in the dramatic, I deleted Instagram and found myself in Bali way. Not in the smug monk way. Just absent. They don't post lunch. They don't document sunsets like the sky hired them for PR. They don't upload gym clips, soft launches, trauma-coded captions, or that weird little photo dump where everyone pretends the blurry picture was accidental, and people act confused by this. Like, wait, how are you alive? Where do you put your thoughts? How do people know you went outside? But underneath that confusion is something more interesting. Because social media is not just entertainment anymore. It is a giant public validation machine disguised as a casual app. You enter, you compare, you perform, you refresh, you receive tiny pellets of approval, and then you pretend none of this is affecting your nervous system. Very classy. So when someone refuses to participate, the behavior can look like avoidance. But psychologically, it can also be reactance. Bream's theory of psychological reactance says that when people feel their freedom is being pressured, they often push back. Not because they are difficult, because the mind has an immune system. When the world keeps coughing expectations into your face, post this, like that, respond faster, be visible, stay relevant, prove you exist. Something in some people says, absolutely not. That no is not always insecurity. Sometimes it is autonomy putting up a fence. And the more the crowd treats participation like oxygen, the stronger the resistance becomes. The algorithm says, join the parade. The person says, I would rather eat glass quietly. That friction matters. Because after enough external signals pile up, passive disinterest can harden into active defiance. They stop observing the machine from the outside. They begin defining themselves against it. And this is where things get psychologically messy. Because not using social media can mean two very different things. One person avoids it because they genuinely don't need that stream of validation. Their attention has somewhere else to live. Their relationships are slower, less broadcasted, more memory-based. They remember conversations because they were not mentally converting them into captions. Their time feels like something they own. Another person avoids it because everyone else is using it. That is not freedom. That is still being controlled by the room, just in the opposite direction. This is the hilarious little trap of divergence. The moment enough people reject the mainstream in the same way, the rejection becomes its own uniform. Suddenly, everyone who doesn't care about social media starts sounding suspiciously similar. Same quiet superiority. Same little eyebrow raise when someone mentions TikTok. Same sentence, I just don't get the appeal. Sure, Chad. Very original. This is where Snyder's self-monitoring scale becomes useful. High self-monitors adjust themselves according to social context. They read the room, track approval, edit their presentation, and keep one eye on the imaginary audience. Social media is basically a theme park for that tendency. Every post asks, how will this land? Every caption asks, who am I trying to be? Every story asks, am I visible enough without looking desperate? Low self-monitors are less governed by that external mirror. They are not immune to validation, because nobody is. But they are less likely to restructure their whole personality around audience response. So social media non-use can reflect a lower dependence on public feedback. Or it can reflect a new performance of non-performance. That is the cynical deceleration. Because the anti-social media identity can become just another costume. Instead of posting for likes, the person performs being above likes. Instead of chasing approval from the crowd, they chase approval from people who hate the crowd. Different room, same mirror. This is where nonlinear conformity gets funny. Human groups do not move in clean, straight lines. A trend creates an anti-trend. The anti-trend becomes recognizable. Recognition creates imitation. Imitation creates homogenization. And suddenly the rebels have matching jackets. This happens everywhere. So the real distinction is not use versus non-use. It is polarity versus equilibrium. Reactive opposition is still chained to the thing it opposes. The shadow still needs the object. Absolute neutrality is different. That is when someone can look at social media and feel no magnetic pull in either direction. No hunger, no disgust. No need to announce the absence. Just a simple internal math. This costs more attention than it returns. And for those people, non-use is not a brand. It is attention allocation control. Their mind is not constantly sliced into performance fragments. Their comparison exposure drops. Their memory encoding improves because moments are allowed to remain moments. Their relationships are not automatically converted into public evidence. That is not moral superiority. That is just a different operating preference. Now zoom out. Humans have always needed people who do not follow the group too closely. A tribe where everyone looks in the same direction is very cute until the food runs out over there. Then suddenly the annoying wanderer becomes useful. Divergence has survival value. If every nervous system reacts to the same reward, the whole group becomes fragile. One algorithm changes and everyone's mood collapses at once. Very stable civilization. Within evolutionary biology, a polymorphism in the dopamine receptor D4 gene has been studied in relation to novelty-seeking and exploratory behavior. Some people are more pulled towards social reward loops. Some people are less captivated by the same pellets. A dinner remembered is different from a dinner performed. That is the quiet advantage, not purity, not enlightenment, just fewer hooks in the skin. But fewer hooks can become its own little trap. We are social animals pretending we are above needing people, which is adorable, but also biologically suspicious. This is where Dunbar's number matters. So non-use can be a correction, a return to smaller circles. There is a middle state. A person can reject the public performance arena without rejecting human connection. The goal is not to become a mysterious cave goblin with excellent boundaries and no birthday invitations. The goal is not disappearance, it is calibration. True autonomy is not reflexively saying no to whatever the collective says yes to. Real freedom is being able to look at a thing without the crowd noise attached. If you're the person who barely uses social media, drop the honest version below and subscribe, because the next one goes deeper.